Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome as we continue our journey into the genre of poetry. Remember, this is an introduction to poetry. I want you, at the end of this genre, to be able to say, this is what poetry is. These are its properties. And understand its value. I'm not asking that you love literature. I'm asking that you understand its value. You can approach any piece of poetry and go, this is what's going on here, and really be able to make the case to yourself why you're going to do the work to understand the poetry, because sometimes poetry is a little bit harder to understand, but the value that we can get out of it is huge, as we talked about last time. This immediacy of the poet right there. You have an interaction with a person. I mean, it's amazing. It's like they're sitting across from the coffee table or the soda fountain, and they're just kind of emptying their heart on you in this certain area, and it might be vomit. It may not be wonderful. As I said last time, it can be heavenly or hellish. That we looked at that, this idea of the human aspect, using the mechanics of language that poetry can give us, and you really have an encounter, a kind of like face-to-face encounter with the poet themselves. They are always immediate. They are always present. So, with that in mind, today we're going to take a look at poetry and history. I said last time that poetry literature has been ripped away from history, something that never should have been done, or never should have happened. And we want to look at poetry a little bit and kind of bring it back to history and think about the riches that we can have when we look at history and we don't leave poetry out of it. All right? So we're going to take a look at that, number one. And number two, we're going to take a look at how poetry, how should I say this? We're going to look at stage 2 reading. Let's try it again. Number 2, we're going to look at just some stage 2 reading. And that's something we want to continue. So we've been talking about stage 1. You're doing stage 1, but in this unit, we're also doing stage 2. And we want to continue to grow in that area as we will through every other genre we look at. But we definitely want to be talking about that and how you're doing your stage 2 reading here. And then lastly, we want to look at just a little bit of how poetry creates imagery. That is huge. What is that imagery doing? So there's a lot of mechanics of language, far more than I could even begin to try to teach you. This musical quality of language that a poet uses to obtain their goal. But what I want to do is ask, what is that imagery doing, so that you know to take the time to understand the imagery itself. It is powerful, and we want to make sure that we understand what it's doing. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Let's go at it.